Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. I'll ask the clerk if anybody is participating electronically.
No, no one's speaking.
Okay. And adoption of the agenda. And just to let you know that this it's amended. So our representative from JP2G can so I'll read it. Yeah. So the motion is moved by Councillor Levesque and seconded by Councillor Gardner. Be it resolved that the meeting agenda dated Monday, March 10, 2025 be adopted as amended to include a presentation from James Hunton of JP2G Consultant Inc. under section 5, presentations and delegations. Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Anybody want to declare conflict of interest or need to? None? Okay, and we'll get right to it, Mr. Hutton. So the reason Mr. Hutton is here is to update council on a few of our projects. I know that I had requested some few weeks back that kind of council needed to be updated on some of the projects, and we usually try and wait till there's a lot happening and so everybody can be on the same page. So as Mr. Hutton makes his presentations, do you want us to interject with questions as you go, or do you want to
interject?
Okay. So please, through the chair, ask to make the question. So the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
And welcome to Mattawa.
Yeah, actually, the driving's been a lot better than it usually is. Very easy. Okay, so I'm here to talk about three things tonight, give the council a quick briefing. First thing is to give you a briefing on the Dorian Road Hill construction project, which is going extremely well. Talk about that momentarily. Second thing is I'd like to give you a briefing on where we're headed on the Memorial Boulanger Bridge rehabilitation. You've just recently gotten 300 and I believe it was 375 or 350 approved under the Connecting Link program, which is like 92% funding, so it's a good deal. But we'll talk about that. And then I'd like to talk about Main Street, just to give you a briefing. There was a public meeting coming up and we wanted to make sure council talk to you directly and answer any of your questions and make sure we don't say anything stupid. I'm going to have two engineers with me. And I love engineers. I've got a lot of them working for me, but they can sometimes get a little tricky in terms of they carry on and on and on. I'm going to be in and out of this in half an hour, possibly less, depending on the extent of your questions. But I'm here to answer anything that you might have. So first of all, with respect to Dorian Road Hill, the good news is you have $4.7 million has been approved 4 or 5 years ago under the ISIP funding, which is a federal provincial funding program that encourages development of roads. So we've got that approved. We have the first phase done. We've got $1 million left, roughly $750,000 to $1 million. Paul and I are working on landing on the number. Sometimes it's a bit of a moving target, but that's to finish off the right-hand turn lane on the MTO highway. My concern with that, and I'm going to be looking to council or to Raymond and Paul to make sure that we get MTO online, is every time we talk to them, they ask for something more. It's like they're not spending your money, or their money, but they are. It's my money. But that estimate for the right-hand turn lane started off at 400,000. That was their estimate. By the time my guys were finished with it, it was more like 600,000 to 700,000. And now we're concerned about it's going to go. This is part of it, thanks to Donald Trump and as tariffs, but we think this thing could hit $1 million. The problem is any overrun over and above what the ISIP funding package is up to council. So I'm trying my very best to make sure we can keep this under control as much as we can. I wasn't able to really get organized here too badly, but I'm going to give you some drawings. There's
You want to hand me that?
sure. Actually,
We're having a hard time here.
I would.
Put your back.
So this set of drawings here is the preliminary design drawings, which we owe you. Under the budget that you approved a year or so ago in terms of Brook Street and Brook Street and, that was it, Brook Street. We were trying to do it within a $60,000 budget. It turned out that we were able to do Brook Street, Dorian Road, the connection between the old Dorian Road between the top of the hill at the bell tower and the Dorian Road curve, Belanger Road curve. And we were able to do the Belanger Road curve and do the extension back to the town line. And we're doing it pretty much within the budget. We're about $5,000 or $6,000 over it, but that's because we added the actual curve. That was a different thing. So those drawings there, that's just for your information. I think there'll be another presentation another day where I'll delve into it in detail. It's just to show you that we've done what we said we would do in terms of the preliminary design. This is the right-hand turn lane where we are right now. This is about version number 3. And as I was saying to Raymond and Paul earlier today, the problem is every time we talk to MTO, they ask for something more. So I can part of the way. We've got to try to fix the thing we need, and we didn't want to do about it. So, for instance, one of the things that where I mean, it's about time dealing with is the last time we talked to them when we got out of town. And just closed this thing down and got them to agree to defer the actual work. Until we actually needed it. Was they wanted us to move the top of the rock. And remember there's a rock cut. But you have to come under the trestle when you're heading out of town. There's a rock cut. They want us to move that rock cut top 2 to 3 feet back. Just like $250,000.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, it's not their money. But anyway, so we have to talk to them about that. John Novak, you know, works for us, and we used to work for you guys for a long time. So there was a bit of rock that's fallen off that cliff in 30 years. And we're gonna spend $250,000. Are you out of your mind? And we are. So we still have some discussion to do. I will come back from this meeting though and tell my guys to get going on the 3rd or 4th final design of this thing. That's a contract call. We may, and this is a strategic thing.
Go to the cherry, Lauren.
Well, I'll come right back.
Okay.
We may try to do this under the a change order. This would be a legitimate thing to do in terms of the Canora project. They did a really good job, much to my surprise and chagrin. It saved you and you made the decision against our recommendation, and that's fine. We'll do that every once in a while just for the fun of it. But you saved $600,000, and that went a long way to making sure that we're under the budget envelope right now. So that's where.
So their concern is rocks falling off of the face.
Yeah,
So why
onto the street.
could we not, I've seen it in several places where they've attached the wire. It's similar to chicken wire, but it's not chicken
Yeah.
wire that covers the face of it, which stops anything.
That may be,
from falling.
our guys will look at what's the most cheapest, cost effective and approvable. I just want to get through the discussion so that we can get noted.
Okay. So
we'll look at all the options.
Yeah, I'll remind council to direct their questions through the chair, please, so we can keep it focused. Councillor T-Bear?
Yeah, I remember back in the day meeting with the Department of Highways or the Ministry of
Transportation.
Yeah,
Communications and.
Communications and Transportation. Anyway, when we met with them back, I'm gonna say 8 years ago, they had agreed to pay for some of it. Are they still in agreement to that?
They're definitely not in agreement, but I think I was probably at that meeting. It was only 8 years ago. What they did agree to pay for was the demolition of the trestle. They were going to pick up, much to our surprise, 100% of the cost of the demolition of the trestle, but that's not the right answer anymore. That's a negotiation that we have to have with them to see if they'll come to the party in terms of cost sharing. That's something we need to have this meeting, make sure that you're aware of where we stand on this thing and to get the council, not necessarily a resolution, just make sure that everybody's on the same page. Is that we have to come out of this meeting, 2 things. I have to talk to my engineers about advancing the design drawings and the contract specifications, and I need Raymond and Paul to talk to MTO in terms of cost sharing, specifically on the right-hand turn.
So let's hear about the nonprofit organization.
I didn't hear that.
We do have someone online now.
May I just add to this, just for your information, I have met with MTO. And I have proposed the cost sharing venture, and I didn't get no for an answer. So it's still looking good. We just need to know where we're going and to bring this to the next phase. Councillor Levesque, you had a question?
Yep, the scaling back of your upper rock cuts. Is this gonna go through the same contract, or do we do it in-house, or are you,
Definitely won't do it in-house.
because it's
We
too
are-
much, right?
We are toying with the idea of going, we can go through the same contract and be called the change order.
Okay, do you have an estimated cost to do that? We don't, okay,
I will get one on.
okay, thank you. That's all I need to know.
Councillor Mick?
So, and I was understanding too, when we first started this Dorian part of it too, a lot of it was because we were planning to have more industrial lots at the top of this hill. And when we got the funding, it made sense to continue on with it, and it still makes sense. But can we finish this program without finishing the right turn lane? Because we're leaning more towards a residential thing now.
We could,
and then
you
just
could do that.
Okay.
The problem with the ISIP program is you run out of funding. If you don't have, if you haven't spent the money by, I'm gonna say August, it's really October, 2026, it's gone. So what you don't spend, you don't get, and that's our problem, is we're sort of, our feet are to the fire in terms of the timing.
Okay,
So spend it or lose it is basically where we're at right now.
okay, so we have some to spend, but just maybe not enough to finish off this
That's right.
project. Okay, okay.
What do you mean by finishing off the project?
Like this degrading of the hill, right, was originally for the industrial part of it. So I'm saying, like, can we just spend all the money, get it as close as we can to finish with this turning lane? And then if we can't, we'll continue on with building our lots and getting people living out there.
So the project itself, and you can cut me off if you want, was the hill reconstruction period. It didn't have anything to do with the lots and that. As long as it was on Dorion, you know, we stretched the envelope in some places where we could. As far as the hill itself, it's done.
Mhm.
They're coming in the spring, they're gonna put curbs and pave it.
Mhm.
We got two choices here. We can finish Dorion Street all the way to Belanger. Or we can do the right-hand turn, which we know that, they told us that we'll have to do it. But they're willing to give us time, and by time, I mean, they're gonna keep doing analysis, which we gotta provide the analysis. Once a certain amount of traffic occurs, then we have to. So here we are in a very neat situation here. We have $750,000 at least, if not $1 million left, where we can get it done, because MTO's telling us that they might be interested in cost sharing.
Mm.
So it started at 4, it went to 6, it's at 8,
Yep.
and you know, and nowadays it could go to $1 million, but if $1 million shared by 2, we have enough, we can get that all done. What scares me about finishing Dorion Road all the way to Belanger is, and you hit it right on, is we're gonna be hitting all the lots that we're gonna develop, where we gotta put infrastructure, water and sewer. So we're gonna pave it and then we're gonna dig it up. Makes no sense. We're gonna have heavy equipment on it, you know, and it's gonna take a toll, and I find it wasting money. I'd rather pave it once everything's done.
Mhm.
You know, we can do a temporary fix on the road, you know, to buy a few years.
The other thing, Lauren, as well, is that we'll set this up so that you call them, like, we have to do the design. It sounds like I'm spending work for engineering work, but you gotta do the design, you gotta know what you're dealing with. And we call a contract, but we'll put a provision in the contract that you don't necessarily have to award. So if it comes in at $1.2 million and you're not able to get cost sharing, you don't have to award it, you can, you know, deal with it at another
Right.
time. But you're gonna have, you've agreed that when it's necessary, and that's what Raymond was getting at, or his worship was getting at, is there was an analysis that was gonna go on in terms of what kind of traffic is being generated by what kind of uses and what is the trigger that, oh, well, this is an opportunity here to make that issue go away. Get it built now so that you can sit back and relax and you're very correct in terms of we're making darn sure that the concept drawings, and the last one I saw was on Paul's office. We are still maintaining provision for light industrial on the south side of Dorian Road. And possibly the tower location as well, that's a discussion we're into right now. But we're very cognitive, like, you know, FedNor, for instance, put in something like $1.2 million for sewer and water up that hill, with the Brook Street extension. And they would be quite upset with us if all of a sudden the industrial product, and we don't want them to disappear. We want this to be a mixed use development of 240 acres or something like that, so. We're working hard on it right now.
Councillor Gardner.
I may be remembering this wrong because it's been a little while since we talked about this portion of the project. I seem to recall at some point there was conversations about trying to convince MTO to have one or the other in the right turn lane
Yes.
or the left turn lane.
You're not-
In this drawing, it has both.
You're not, no, that's what the discussion was with, a discussion, and then my engineers and I looked at this. But we wanted to trade the Dorian Road right-hand turn lane for a right-hand turn lane of Brook Street. And we were thinking incorrectly, as it turned out, that would be a lot less expensive. Well, it turns out it can't really be done. It's a big three-phase hydro line and there's a property, so we're back to Dorian Road, but that's the discussion, that was the two options.
Okay.
Brook Street right-hand turn lane or Dorian Road right-hand turn lane. But we're back to Dorian Road.
Yeah,
Okay, so we're gonna do a two-pronged here in terms of dealing with MTO like right now and dealing with advancing the engineering designs and contract specifications right now. On the right-hand turn lane, which was that second drawing I did. The first standard, okay. And the other, the drawing that Gary's looking at right now is basically just to complete our arrangement in terms of the preliminary design. And that's another thing that you're doing now that's a little different and that is leading to some success actually in some of the government programs. Is you're putting together like preliminary designs on certain projects. You don't carry it through all the way to detailed design until you get the funding from the government to advance the detailed design, but you're getting some stuff on the shelf. And that's what these drawings are about from Brook Street, Dorian Road and Belanger Road curve. Because we'll be using those drawings with next time the funding application comes up. All right, can I move on?
please.
Okay, the next one is Lalonde. Oh, wow, oh, yeah. I think you're looking really bad or something, or really old. Anyway, he just saw it. Here you go, there's another one.
All right, I guess I didn't do a good job. the first one. Down?
This is a rather old little document that was a conversation between Raymond and I back in 2020. When he was making it very clear to my engineering group that you can't just decide, this is when we had the problem with the Mont-Belanger Bridge with the West Button failing. Yeah, it was a dangerous situation. I know I didn't report it, but it was like downright dangerous. It's now been solved. But we knew that we had to do a long-term solution to the Mont-Belanger Bridge. And that this is what this memo basically is, just for the files, sets out a strategy as to how to approach this. The thing I wanted to tell council, at least to brief council on, is we recognize at JP2G the absolute necessity to keep that bridge open as much as possible. The engineering solution is new bridge, new location. That's the safest, and that's where the engineers gravitate, like flies to light kind of thing. And they're hard to talk off of it. It's the thing that most of them work for me because they do that kill them. But the other problem that we have is under the Environmental Assessment Act, they're very strict about how you're supposed to look at all options and give all options equal weight, and you winnow them down until you come up to the right option at the bottom. One of the things that I promised Raymond is I'm taking control of this environmental assessment myself. I used to write these things back in 1980, and I've written quite a few since then. But I want to make sure that the answer at the back of the book is to maintain at least one lane of traffic as long as possible on the bridge in its current location. That's going to mean that you're into a rehabilitation. It's probably in the long run, going to cost more than a new bridge, but at least you'll keep the traffic flowing for your downtown core. The other thing is, when we talked about this before, is one of my big concerns, if it's a new bridge in a new location, you're dealing with heavy trucks and equipment going through residential areas, and they will not be, so you'll get calls from residences, you'll get calls from the downtown business core, and I think that the correct answer is do everything that we can do properly. To keep at least one lane open, and that's gonna cost more than just doing it, closing it down, and fixing it. But I think that's the way to go, and we'll be back to you many times. We're not gonna go through this process without dealing very closely with council, because you will be getting a lot of calls for this particular project. However, the good news is, if you look at this page 2, this document, I had set out a staged approach to the rehabilitation of Morro Bay Bridge back in 2020. And basically what you got is you got funding on stage 1A and stage 1B. Everything I just said is subject to stage 1A, which is the detailed structural analysis, which is to find out if the old girl has still got good bones. And I hope she does, because then we'll buy 25 years, 30 years. We don't know what the exact number is. That's what the structural engineers will tell us. But obviously, I'm not going to talk about rehabilitation if the thing is, within inches of falling down. So we have some work to do. We're not allowed to send in a bill until April 1st, because that's when the funding program starts, but we're doing a little bit of work. We'll bill you after April 1st. We won't start it today. But we work pretty closely. My guys work pretty closely with Paul in terms of trying to make sure you get everything you're entitled to on these funding programs. So this particular one is, Raymond, do you remember, is it 375 or Paul?
The province shares 350.
So that's a pretty good chunk of change. All right, so that's, unless there's any questions, it's,
The.
To the chair, please.
Sorry, can I speak to the gentleman?
Yes, you can.
the gentleman, that's so great.
The grant that we got, is this sufficient enough to do the job?
No, what to do step 1A and step 1B?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We do the rehabilitation job, it's not.
Okay, so it's gonna stay within a connecting link for 533, so there'll be no other upgrades or anything else?
No.
Okay.
All right, and on our agenda this evening, there is a letter from the Connecting Links, and provincial contribution for our project is 343,440.
Awesome.
So it's in your agenda.
And they need you to sign some sort of a contribution agreement so that you can start accessing those things.
Councillor Gardner.
Just two things on the bridge. If we ever do another sidewalk, it definitely can't be a great sidewalk, because
Yeah,
I think we'll all be
scares little dogs.
run out of town. And I don't blame people for that either. I'm one of them that has to walk down the highway, but the other one that I thought was interesting is, and I don't know if I don't think Connecting Links would fund it, but maybe there's other opportunities for funding, but we have to find a way to accommodate the recreational vehicles in an area across the bridge right now. Snowmobiles that go down the road, it's not safe for them. It's not safe for the people on the road. It's not safe for the drivers. It's just, and we really rely on a lot of that tourism in our area, and it's something that's not going away. If anything, people are coming more north because of the lack of snow these days, but it's definitely something to think about with any kind of bridge design. And I get it that Connecting Links probably isn't going to pay for that because it doesn't. But if we can sell them on a safety factor, maybe.
That's the kind of thing that's looked at in the environmental assessment. So you'd be looking at a bicycle connection, you'd be looking at a snowmobile connection. You're only dealing with a certain amount of platform though, so it can get a little tricky. You have to worry about cars.
We'll tunnel it.
Yeah, that's right.
With the Tourism Ontario, money for that?
Then apply to find out.
But we'll have drawings and we'll have, in fact, homework done.
Mhm.
I can tell you that before the flood, when I applied for the Connecting Links program and we were approved, I tried to get the sidewalk and anything pedestrian, they will not cover. Vehicular only. And I was trying to fight it that it is vehicular because you got people walking on the bridge that could get hit by a vehicle. Councillor.
Tim, I was wondering, is there possibility that, I agree with Matt's concern, but is there a possibility that the one lane can be used for both traffic and recreational vehicles, like with a lane in there saying this lane is both recreational and,
Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to defer to Rob Sapinski or some of the design guys, like,
yeah, because I think that could happen is just for that little short period.
yeah.
It's only like, what, 500 feet, not even that.
It sounds like a good place to get a bicycle or crank, but. Anyway, we'll look at it. That's all the sorts of discussions that we'll have in the environmental assessment review. I just don't have the answers today, because we haven't even done anything.
I think it could be done, I really.
Okay, so that's for each council, okay, that's the design drawings, yes, and I wonder if you can spread those out and if they're up for it. Yep. Just so that we can see it on a bigger. Sure. Let's start with this.
My last comment, you were talking about, make sure we keep the bridge open. We did that. We did that when we repaired the bridge.
That
So
was,
we're talking about doing the same thing.
yeah,
While you're working on one side, you travel on the other
That's right.
side, then you switch over.
yeah.
And there might be times during the construction that the bridge will be shut down for an hour
That's right.
due to this. and
We
that.
found that Barry Jackson was really a big help to us in terms of keeping that. He got it. Right. But we're a long way away from that. We need probably $4 or $5 million from the province to do the actual rehabilitation. And we're not gonna let you far into this. We're gonna spend the money as the grants and subsidies come through. We're not gonna get into a lot. Yeah, so we need that spread out in front of the councilors. Spread out the American. Yeah. Well, there's about 3 of those. Is that the one there? Yeah, I see the smaller side of that one. Far away.
Put one of each
I
side.
put one on each side and.
GPG owns shares in a few paper companies.
Done before.
I did have shares. I did have shares in Penn better than him. Got sold.
The bottom line,
Went
the
down.
bridge is good. I'm good.
Everybody gets.
Yeah, good. Okay, so this is my presentation on the Main Street to bring you folks up to date prior to our meeting, public meeting, which is going to be a week on Saturday from 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock here. I'm gonna have myself, my design engineer, another engineer, and John Novak here in terms of answering questions for anybody from the public. We want to make sure, particularly in our experience, we find with downtown rehabilitation, that gets very sensitive very quickly. In terms of these, it's not like a general official plan review with the city or the town, where you have people from all over the place. This is pretty focused, and these people have got skin in the game, and they get right upset if they get shot. Like, so they'll have questions about, how do you plan on keeping access to my store when you got a 20-foot deep hole out in front? My guys had answers for that. We've done it before. In fact, one of the guys that I'm bringing to the meeting a week on Saturday actually he's coming off 2 years in downtown Renfrew. And so he's had every situation and every question in the book. You know, what's involved? Like we're replacing something like 21 or 27 water service connections. Not a good piece of news, because that's not fundable under the Connecting Home program. But you sure as heck aren't gonna rebuild a road over water services that have broken 6 times so far, the ones that we know of. And you guys tell me that 21 and 27 are possible, gonna leave the premises at some point, so they have to be replaced. So that gets into a reasonably deep hole in front of people's businesses, and that's the kind of thing that concerns me in terms of, we want to make sure that we do everything possible, that people aren't going to be totally negatively impacted by this reconstruction. It's an important piece of work. So I'm going to just pause there for a second. Lori, did you have a question?
Councilor Ross does have a question.
Several. So first of all, the sidewalks, I see we're getting rid of some of the, yeah. So is the sidewalk remaining the same size? Is it being enlarged?
It's gonna be roughly the same size.
Okay,
It's the question at this point is, and we still have to do some work on this, is the material. Is it
Okay.
going to be exposed aggregate, or is it gonna be straight concrete, or is it gonna be a combination of? And what we're gonna do is, right now, myself and Paul and anybody else that you select is gonna go on a bit of a tour. And we're gonna look at some of our projects or some, and even other projects, this project in North Bay that actually tried exposed aggregate one. We're not so sure it's as successful as they would have liked it to have been. It was very messy to put in, like just spraying some
Mhm.
exposed aggregate, sprayed the heck out of the front of the buildings, and obviously that results in phone calls. The other problem that I've got is that if you get a cut, you have to do something at some point, like, and there will be at some point. Trying to match exposed aggregate is impossible. If it's straight concrete, it's doable. Not great, but it's doable. So we have to weigh all that sort of stuff. But for the purposes of our cost estimate at this point, which is $2.8 million, plus or minus, is, we've covered the exposed aggregate because it's $150,000 more. The sidewalk cost, which is not fundable, is 400,000 or something like that. Or sorry, 300,000, and then if you do it exposed aggregate, it's 400,000. So we have some discussions to do. The concern I have on your behalf is once the engineers are finished working their magic and do all the underground stuff and whatever, 3 or 4 years from now, people don't judge how successful the Main Street rehabilitation project was by the underground services or the stormwater, or, you know, how the surface water has been taken care of. They judge it by the road surface, sort of, and most particularly sidewalk condition. So we want to make sure that we spend some time and attention to what we're doing with the sidewalk.
the other question I have is you are removing a lot of our trees
Yes.
that we have on Main
Yes.
Street. Where are they going to be planted
Living on the drawing.
back?
Yes,
Yes, they're
not
gonna-
in the same location, but they will be planted back wherever they're showing them on the drawings.
okay, because I see removed trees and I didn't see where they were going back in.
It's on the plan. We just got to, we'd have to spend some time together going through it.
Okay,
But I will have that question answered for you, and I've got my engineers in.
okay. And up by where Taipan Restaurant is that narrower or is that staying basically the same size, that jet out? We have our canoe that sits up there. Right at the top, just before the roundabout.
Okay,
So see the gray area, like
Yeah.
is that remaining?
yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
That's the last.
yeah.
Councilor Levite?
Talking about your replacing some of the water lines on Main Street.
21 out of 27.
Okay, I was on council at the time when we did that Main Street. The copper was a cheap copper that they made a mistake,
That's right.
was made in China.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it shows now the deterioration, it's not hanging on very well. Are we replacing all of it red up? Or just where they broken off? The whole line I'm talking
Okay,
about.
so we're not replacing at all, any of the main, it seems to be fine.
The main's fine, I'm talking about the copper piping that's
We're replacing
going to all the businesses.
Yeah, and there
From
is-
the main to inside the building.
and if you look at that drawing that's in front of you, the service connections that are being replaced are shown in a blue hatch line,
Oh, okay, I see that.
and it's all of
All
them.
these ones here.
It's 21 out of 27, so 6 of them are okay, because they've been replaced, basically.
Yeah. There was a few.
This is where John Novak is so useful to us, he's been around.
Oh,
since
yeah.
as well, and-
Yeah.
And my guys have a
Just
lot of,
twice.
well, he did better than that. He actually got one of his colleagues, and I knew that he had to see a bill from his colleague. They spent the day going up and down the street and remembering where the various service connections were.
Just,
And he gave instructions to my engineers. This one you replace, this one you don't have to replace. And
just to finish off there, the interlocking for the crosswalk, that will be gone, right?
yes,
Okay, and the water lines back then, I think it was in 86 we got done, 87. And the Public Works did the work for the water lines running to each building. It wasn't a contractor. We had a guy running they're back on putting the big line in for the sewers and the water, but we did the work to each structure. So they did a good job, very proud of them.
Good.
Have you got a copy of the old
I have
contract?
no idea. I got engineers that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so basically, we were very pleased to get this project in terms of being able to do some homework before we started putting in cost estimates. So we're pretty satisfied with this 2.8 mil. It'll fluctuate up and down, but apparently the magic number is 3 million, which is something like that's right afterwards. For a road rehab and 5 million for a bridge rehab. So those are sort of targets for us. But I was very concerned when we found out, and again, this was through John Novak and then some of your staff people here. There used to be an old gas station on the main street near where the food land is.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
White Rose.
Okay, there you go, right? Problem with petroleum product in your subsoil is that if you start digging it and you find it, you've got to keep digging it until you get rid of it. I mean, by getting rid of it, you got to take it to a landfill site, usually a licensed landfill site. I was petrified. Yeah, seriously, on your behalf, they have a gas station. I was telling Raymond and Paul today that there's a gas station about 2 blocks from our office that they've been digging at with 2 big excavators since before Christmas, and they just left. I have no idea, but it was a gazillion dollars. And, it's probably the guy should just walk away from this building. But, and we've had in Pembroke, on Pembroke Street West, we had a situation where we ran into, by surprise, a contaminated subsoil for petroleum product, and we had to dig and dig and dig. In Cobden, they had the same situation. I thought we were gonna lose a piece of the highway, but the rules are, you gotta keep digging until it's gone.
One.
So my position on your behalf was let's do some testing and spend a little bit more money on that testing. Because if we find that damn stuff, at least we'll know going in. And secondly, a lot better chance of shutting the project down at the testing stage than when you're actually into
In
construction.
the digging.
The good news is that that doesn't sound like good news. The news is you do have some petroleum contamination. Funnily enough, it's across the street from the old gas station. That's the first interesting thing. So we did 2 separate tests. And we ponied up for some lab tests so that they can actually do some more extra work in terms of petroleum contamination. And it turns out that it's within NOE guidelines. So big relief. Okay, so we're not into it some sort of huge thing. The bottom line is what we've negotiated with the soils people is we'll make a $50,000 allowance in the project contract for them because we have to have a monitor on site. And what's going to happen is the WSP monitor, that's your soils people, and I like to stay with the same people that you're dealing with, are going to be on that site. And then when they take something out of the hole, they're going to decide the good news is it could possibly go back in the hole, which is going to save you some money, or it has to go to the landfill site. The third thing that we were trying to do was to use it as a sub-base on the proposed bicycle path along Meadow Street. The problem with that is they have a provision in their soils report that you've got to be 15 meters from any water course before you're placing that, so we're out of luck there. So we have 2 choices. We've got to put a monitor on the site, which we'll do as part of the construction specifications. And it'll be carried as part of the construction price. That's fundable, that will be fundable. And the monitor will tell us, it's got to go to the landfill site, or you can use this as a cover, or it can go back in the hole, which is fine. And we'll leave that up to the engineering guys on site to decide where they would rather have it. So that's the first piece of discovery.
Councillor Levesque first.
Getting back to that gas station on Main Street, White Rose, I remember when it burned. And I remember they had the excavation there and they had to take a lot of stuff out of there because they couldn't build that grocery store. Mr. Brew had it at the time to expand. So you might be surprised if you do a testing, you might not find anything.
Well, we did testing and we didn't.
Yeah.
And then you just answered the question for me, because I could not figure out why we would find petroleum product on the other side of the street and not right in front of the gas station, because the former gas station, because they tested there. So we've tested the brains out of this thing and you answered the question. They excavated a bunch of material.
But across the street used to be Manawa Hardware, and that sold all kinds of stuff, plus they were selling fuel in containers at the time, oil and that, so it might come from that stuff. probably.
And we had, the other end of the thing is that we did 2 tests across the street. First test, showed that there was petroleum contamination. The second test was like 5 feet away, and it showed it wasn't, so we're in pretty good shape there as far as petroleum contamination. We just gotta stay on top of it.
The testing that you done across the street. And you found some contamination. That contamination, was it oil? Was it
That
gas?
was the whole series of things.
Seriously, because those guys used to get oil trucks used to come in because they had oil heating furnaces at the time. So I was just wondering spills and that. maybe
Rob,
that-
Rob can bring the report and give you that.
Okay, thank
If
you.
if you come to the public meeting. I'll
I
make
will
it
be here.
Councilor Gardner.
Probably an astronomical number, but has there been any thought about raising the grade between Gorman Street and Bank Street? I know pretty much every business on that street has at least one step to get into their building. And it just seemed like it could potentially be a very good opportunity for us to become accessible or to work with that, depending on the material. Now, if you have to bring in so much material and you're gonna truck out material, then you can reuse or whatever, but probably an astronomical cost. But is it something that's even been thought about or anything like that?
The answer is no.
Plain and simple.
Simple.
Just my reasoning is because all of the buildings that are there, even if they wanted to become accessible, they can't really, because in order to do that, they would have to build
You
something
talk
on,
about raising the grade on Main Street?
on the sidewalks portion of it,
Yeah. As Soon as you start.
probably the street too.
And plus, there's provisions in the connecting link guidelines that they are really restricted, and you're not really allowed to, change the vertical alignment or the horizontal alignment, or you can, but you're just not gonna get funded. And you're right, there'd be a whole cascading number of problems. It would end up being a pretty significant number.
Thank you.
So the last little surprise, and this was a surprise to me, was we did testing for groundwater. I thought, groundwater, you're gonna have groundwater down at the river. We're up at the roundabout for groundwater. Anyway, bottom line is, it turns out they're doing significant groundwater. I have no idea why. I don't have any idea where it comes from. There's some questions as to whether it's actually groundwater or whether it comes from, roof drains or wherever it comes. It doesn't matter. Thing is, they identified groundwater. And they were at one point talking about $150,000 for the hydrogeological survey, like just monitoring stuff. And we didn't like that number very much. Like, we didn't like it at all. And we took the position that you guys, this is just service connections. We keep these channels pretty tight. Like, we're not tearing the whole road up for 6 feet deep, the whole length. So bottom line is, Sapinski at my direction was able to convince the soils people that we can restrict the amount of excavation, and he's taken the dewatering requirement from about 150 guys. These aren't guesses. We've been through that. We know what these things cost. And he's got it down to about $15,000 in terms of dewatering. So that's the kind of thing that I'd like to try to do on behalf of all of our municipal clients, not just because you guys are special, and you are special. So bottom line is that dewatering was a real surprise to me. It's going to be under control.
So give me an explanation what dewater is.
Dewatering is they drilled into the ground and they found there was groundwater,
Yes?
and now we gotta get rid of it. When they're doing excavations, you can't be working in water, you gotta dewater it.
Okay. I just
And
wanted
they
to
usually
know.
do with big pumps.
Okay.
And there's all sorts of rules wrapped around that. It's not just a matter of the old days, when you could put a pump in a hole and pump the water into the nearest lake, they just run you around in circles. So anyway, that's the bottom line is that we're dealing with the dewatering, we're dealing with the petroleum contamination. We're working on the sidewalks. I'll have people here a week on Saturday to be able to explain to anybody who's got any kind of questions. I'm bringing one guy who's just come off of 2 years of downtown rehabilitation at Renfrew on our behalf. So he can answer questions in terms of, if somebody asks, what's involved taking the service connection in from the street into my building? He's been there 30 times, so he's going to be able to do those explanations. Or if there's an explanation to be required in terms of, is the parking on the street as wide as it was before, and they'll have that exact information. I do know, and I'll close with this, is that there isn't a whole bunch of parking getting gained, but taking out those bump outs, I think they gain about 3 parking spots. But again, we'll have that answered. And I'm going to have, when we do our meeting, I've done this before, and it's worked rather well, is we'll have a questionnaire at the public meeting. And it's basically it's a comment sheet. It's got 4 questions on it. They're not rocket science. First question is, do you have any concerns or comments you think should be considered as part of the Main Street design? A few more words. In your opinion, what's the best, this is always interesting, what's the best attribute of Main Street in its existing condition? It's kind of sometimes interesting in terms of what people, maybe it's the park benches, or maybe it's the trees, or maybe it's the fact that it kind of still looks pretty good. What's the worst characteristic of the existing Main Street? Say the trucks, but, and if you wish to have, this is important from a consultation point of view, public consultation. If you wish to have an individual discussion with representatives of the town or our engineering team, please provide your contact information and availability to Melody. And Paul was telling me that what he might do is get a mail drop of this to each of the individuals. So my biggest problem, and it's really a heartbreaker, is you work so hard to get people involved, and somebody will show up, right, and you know this from other projects, at the very last minute and say, I wasn't invited, I wasn't invited, or I wasn't invited. We're gonna hand drop these things in, which is basically an invitation to them. If you want somebody to come and sit in your store with you, I got 3 or 4 people that'll do that. And I'm just trying to work through the public consultation aspect of the environmental assessment of it. So that's it. We're on budget. We're on time. This thing's in good shape on Main Street, and we're looking forward to the public meeting on a week on Saturday.
Councillor T-Bear?
So Jim, if you can answer me this question, now I think you might have mentioned it there, but I think it went right over my head. So all this reconstruction on Main Street will not help access to the businesses.
What it hopefully will do, and what for the construction, it didn't go over here, because I didn't talk about it. What my point was, when we do the construction, what we're gonna do is be cognizant. We're not gonna be perfect about it, or be able to be perfect about it, but we're not just gonna go in there and have the bulldozers rule the world. We want to make sure that we are very sensitive to the fact that these people have businesses to operate and livelihoods to make. So it's sort of, I flipped that on its head there, Jerry, that we're not, Eric, we're not improving the access, but we don't want to worsen the access either. And as soon as we try to improve the access, as I think I was saying to Andrew earlier, that starts to play fast and loose with the funding program. Because they do not like if you're messing with the vertical alignment or the horizontal alignment.
Thank you.
Well done.
That's it, your worship.
Okay, so I want to make sure that everyone's aware again, it's March 22nd.
Yes.
Okay, what time again?
1 o'clock, you're free.
Okay, it's in the recorder, it's on our social media pages. I invite council, I invite all of our constituents, our business people, the more the merrier, and doesn't mean that this is gonna happen tomorrow morning, but we've already gathered a lot of information, and we need the personal information to make it work. We all heard that we're talking about right now a $2.8 million project. We know that Connecting Links will subsidize it up to 3 million, so we're up against it. So be careful what we want, we gotta, I think we have to be wise in what the decisions we're gonna make.
I think,
And
your worship,
looking forward to seeing more.
there's also, I think, your worship, it's important that people know that we're not actually going to start the construction until we get the funding in place for the actual construction.
Correct.
So there's an important jump there. Our bet is, find out how smart we are, how smart we're not. That if they pay $350,000 for the homework,
Yeah,
it's more likely that they're gonna fund the actual work. As opposed to some project that comes in where people are just making loud noises and asking for, $3 million to construct something and they've done no homework whatsoever. And I guarantee you from 53 years worth of experience, that if you go into something without any backup in terms of preliminary design, you're gonna run into problems that are gonna be really embarrassing.
And I think the stable supports the idea of having,
I think they do.
projects ready, sitting on the shelf waiting for the funding.
That's why we gave you those first set of drawings this morning, or this morning. Today was the Oak Street, Boulanger Road. And Dorian Road, preliminary design. On the shelf. Hopefully there'll be a funding program coming up.
I think you're going to get all kinds of funding between the terrorists and the states and Canada. They have to create job creation to cover their losses, so. It's gonna happen.
I'm smiling at Paul because we had that exact conversation this afternoon. A lot of people are very afraid and concerned. And I'm thinking exactly that. In the thirties, they worked their way out of depression by building roads. And I think that's what's gonna happen is that all sorts of projects coming up. The key is to be ready or semi-ready for them as they come up. Because the thing I hate about the federal government programs and the provincial government programs is they're in the business of making announcements, not in the business of throwing money. And it's really dangerous to just jump into a program, get the money and then find out you've got an overrun, especially these days now where they say, okay, the overrun's your problem. That's a big problem sometimes. So you're doing the right thing by getting some stuff on the shelf. I'll get out of here now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure to have you.
See you next time.
Yes, sir.
On the 22nd.
That's right. Yes, the more counselors that are there that afternoon, the better.
Isn't that the one we have to be at?
No, the one you have to be at is the official plan one.
Oh, yeah, that's what we didn't have. before.
17th.
The 17th, yeah.
Oh, okay,
That one's required by legislation.
yeah.
Regular. It's 5:00.
I've got a dentist appointment on the 17th in the afternoon, so.
All right, so next thing on our agenda is the adoption of the minutes. For the special meeting of February 20th and the regular meeting of February 24th. Anybody have any questions or concerns about these? None? Okay, I need a mover and a seconder.
Okay.
The motion is moved by Councillor Bigelow, seconded by Councillor Ross. Be it resolved that council adopt the minutes of the special meeting of February 2025, and regular meeting of February 24, 2025. Questions, comments, all in favor? Carried. Notice of motion, we have one. It's concerning autism, World Autism Day. I need a mover and a seconder. So the motion is moved by Councillor Ross, seconded by Councillor Levesque. Whereas World Autism Day is recognized on April 2nd, 2025 in Canada, Autism Ontario is one of the largest collective voices representing the autism community. And the work we do to help all autistic individuals and families in their communities have access to meaningful support, information, and connections, not only on April 2, but every day throughout the year. And whereas autism impacts more than 135,000 individuals in Ontario, representing 1 in every 50 Canadian children and youth. It not only influences the lives of autistics, but also their friends, families, and communities. It's crucial for us to raise awareness and acceptance, provide support, and promote a more inclusive society. And whereas autism is a diverse spectrum that varies widely among individuals. Each person's experience with autism can change over time. This evolving journey highlights the uniqueness of every autistic individual, emphasizing the need for understanding and support tailored to their specific needs. And whereas Autism Ontario is the leading source of information and referral on autism and since 1973 has been providing support, information, and opportunities for thousands of families and individuals across the province. And whereas Autism Ontario is devoted to raising public awareness about autism and addressing the everyday challenges faced by individuals with autism, their families, and the professionals who work alongside them. We urge everyone to recognize and celebrate the unique differences and needs of others, fostering an inclusive environment where all individuals can participate fully in activities and discussions. Together, we can create a society that values and includes everyone. Therefore, be it resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Mattawa do hereby recognize April 2 as World Autism Day while committing to embrace awareness and acceptance today and every day throughout the year. Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, so correspondence 8.1, letter from Ministry of Transportation, 2025-26 connecting links, funding approval. Any questions or comments about it? Good to go. 8.2, Children's Aid Society, update on pending YWHO application. Questions, comments? None. 8.3, AMO, communities brace for tariff impact. Questions, comments? None. 8.4, AMO, resources for local democratic engagement. Questions, comments? And 8.5, North Bay Perry Sound District Health Unit 2025 municipal levy. Any questions or comments? Councillor Gardner.
Just quickly did want to mention that I think I was the one that asked kind of what they offer in the community, and they did list that out, a lot of things. There were a lot of programs that they do offer on there that, you know, kind of slip your mind when you're not a person that uses them every day. But when I did read the list, I was like, oh, that's right, that's right, that's right. I did forget about a lot of those things that they offer, so makes me feel a little bit better about what we pay to them, so.
Yeah, if I may, just extend kudos to the health unit for responding, because a lot of times they don't bother. And council was, remember, we had the ambiguous percentage increase, which we knew was between 5%, but it didn't really come out as that in the letter. And again, you guys were inquiring as to what they provided for the services, so it's good of them that they respond.
Everybody agree? Any other comments? Okay, standing committee recommendations and reports. 9.1, Corporate Services Committee, motion of support for property taxation implications related to non-market valuation of electricity industry properties. Anybody?
Yeah, I can just kind of explain what this was about. So again, I believe I asked that this be brought to the council table. Not so much that it affects us, but it does severely impact one of our neighboring municipalities. So just kind of a gesture of goodwill to our neighbors. They're really impacted by the lack of taxation on the hydro dam in their community, and they do get an amount from the government to offset part of what they're losing on that tax base. But there is no guarantee in writing that they'll get that amount every year. So it is something that could end at any time. So that would be devastating to their community. So I thought the neighborly thing to do would be to support it.
Okay, any other comments? I need a mover and a seconder, please. So moved by Councillor Mick, seconded by Councillor Bigelow. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee at their meeting on Monday, March 3, 2025, recommends to council to support a resolution from the municipality of Kincardine for the property taxation implications related to non-market valuation of electricity industry properties received from the town of Plimpton, Wyoming. And further that, council of the corporation of town of Mattawa supports the recommendation and supports the resolution from municipality of Kincardine. And further that, a copy of this resolution be sent to the Premier of Ontario, Minister of Energy and Electrification, Minister of Finance, AMO, and all Ontario municipalities. Questions, comments? None, all in favor? Carry. Nine point two, Corporate Service Committee, motion of support for the implementation of Buy Canadian policy. Someone wanna,
Maybe I'll refer this one to Councilor Levike. I believe he was the one that asked for this to be, oh no, wasn't Councilor Levike, it was
Was it?
Councilor Ross, sorry, Councilor Ross. Yes, sorry.
So basically, we do support Buy Canadian policy, and that's pretty much what we do, but it was the township of Uxbridge is asking for municipalities to support this resolution, so I thought that we could support this resolution as well.
any other comments? Okay, but personally, we're picking and choosing, and I'm gonna explain myself. We're willing to support this one that came from the township of Uxbridge. In the same list of correspondence, we had the same demand from another community, and nobody wanted to do anything about it. So I have an issue that we're picking and choosing, like we're gonna. So what I'm gonna suggest it. I know that Patrick Brown, the mayor of Brampton, is circulating something that I'd like to put on the next agenda, and they're asking us to join the movement, not only in Ontario, but all of Canada, where our policies reflect that we support Canadian products and it's all listed. This way here, we just get it done on one blanket, and we don't have to start repeating all along. So that's where I am, and I'm gonna call for a recorded vote on this one. And I'm also gonna ask for a mover and a seconder. Unless someone wants to rebuttal to what I said.
No, that's fine. We can withdraw that motion if you like and wait till the other one has come through and then do it all.
Okay, we can do that. Do I need just to defer?
You can table it, you can just table the motion. You don't need a mover and a second or a vote on it.
Table the motion, and we're just gonna withdraw it.
There we go.
So I don't have to read it. Thank you. And thank you for your support on that. And I'll make sure to give everything to the clerk for the next meeting. And I just thought that one was interesting because it covers the whole country.
There we go.
Number 10, information reports, motions. 10.1, council size reduction, report number 25-09R, report from Deputy Mayor Matthew Gardner.
All right, so. The background, the information report is 10.1 titled council size reduction. This is something that I'm bringing to council on my own. The background of it being that, as you know, the town of Mattawa has had a composition of 1 mayor and 6 councillors for a total of 7 council members for many years. Council is elected every 4 years, and the next election is scheduled to take place in the latter half of 2026. The analysis and discussion is that during the council's last campaign period, many constituents talked about, and candidates talked about the importance of being fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars. As we all know, the costs of running the municipality keep rising tremendously everywhere that we look. Our constituents can't afford these tax increases anymore. During the term, I've had multiple conversations with various members of our group and some members of council about the potential of reducing the composition of council in the town of Mattawa from 7 members down to 5 total, being 1 mayor and 4 councillors. I've outlined various municipalities within an approximately 100-kilometer radius, and I've actually added to this list on my own in my own chart as I kind of think of other municipalities in the area. These municipalities were chosen as comparators as they closely align with Mattawa in one of location, operational and or service levels as kind of lower tier municipalities. Some of these municipalities are kind of on the larger side in our region, and some of them are on the smaller side, but giving a kind of a vast comparison. So Mattawa's current composition of 7 has a constituent to council member ratio of 1 councillor to every 269 constituents based on the 2021 census. Currently, we have a council salary of, or next year is going to be 88,000. That number does come down a little bit because of attendance, but the max budgeted number would be 88,000 for the 2026 year. In my chart, I've listed off a couple of municipalities, Mattawa, Matawan, Calvin Township, Papineau, Cameron, Bonfield, Kawasan, Deep River, East Nipissing, West Nipissing. I've listed off the populations and I've listed off the council members that they have and the residents per council member number that they have. So right now we currently fall at 269, which out of this list is kind of in the lower half, I guess, in the lower half. And I just think that we could save ourselves a lot of money by reducing our amount of people at this table and get to a number that's closer to a lot of our more comparable municipalities. So my proposition would bring council down to 4 councillors and 1 mayor for the 2026 election. The cost savings to this would be approximately $23,000 per year, not including per diems, expenses, everything like that that gets added moving forward in council salary. This change would move Mattawa to a 1 to 376 constituent to council member ratio, which is more in line with the average of this list that I put together, the average being 1 to 545. So we'd still be well below the average. To ensure that the composition continues to reflect local and demographic needs, the Act requires that all regional municipalities review their council composition. This requirement started after the 2018 municipal election and had to be done within 2 years after every second regular municipal election. So that's something that I don't know if that's been done previously in years past. I don't know if this table has ever looked at that since 2018 or not. I wasn't here for that, but I did kind of state the Act there a little bit. So just to kind of outline there that this would be for the next election, so it wouldn't affect anybody at this table right now. And the changes do have to be made if this table is interested and supportive of that. They have to be made by December 31st, otherwise they would be pushed to the next election. So it has to be done before December 31st, the year preceding the next election. The financial implications would be net savings of $23,000 per year approximately, plus or minus some, depending on attendance and the way that we structure our council pays, which could equal out to, you know, just shy of $100,000 per term. And the recommendation would be that we receive this report and bring the topic back under old business in future agendas. And I would ask the clerk to bring forward a little bit more information about the process at a future meeting.
Okay, questions, comments? Councillor Ross.
So first of all, I have never heard of this being spoken of at all. I had many people contact me over the weekend, absolutely not in favor of this. If it is actually about I think the composition we have here is very good. I think it represents our municipality very well. Our democracy works this way. I like it. I think it's fair for the next council also coming in to have the same amount of people. If it is about cost sharing, then maybe we should look at rolling back what we had given ourselves in forms of a raise, like let's take back to what we were before, if that's what we're interested in saving. I would definitely not be in favor of this because I think this ratio is a good number to follow. And yeah, that's my 2 cents on this. And on top of which, we have many committees we sit on. So if you reduce that, then other people are having to pick up where we were sitting on other committees. So I'm definitely not in favor of this one. That's my opinion.
Councillor Levesque.
I totally agree with Councillor Ross, is that people elect councillors to represent their area plus work for the municipality. And as far as I'm concerned, is 6 is not a big number. And besides that, if they were going to do a reduction, I know council can do it by a bylaw and do it. The municipal act tells you can. But I think it would have been nice to feed out on the taxpayers first, send them a memo or something with their tax bill and say, what are your thoughts about reducing council to 4 from 6? And we need an answer by a certain date. Right now, I don't agree with this. That's my.
Councillor Gardner.
Can I just rebuttal to that?
Sure.
I don't know if you've read the recommendation at the bottom, but it's not that this happens today. It's
I
just
didn't
that-
say what's happening.
it's to be brought back, so that is still a possibility that could be done. It's something to be brought back as conversation for later.
I'm just telling you that I'm not supporting this, that's it.
Okay, your second comment was to my rebuttal.
Councillor Mick.
I kind of tend to agree with the councillors who spoke already, although I do appreciate you bringing the report forward, Councillor Gardner. And I absolutely agree that we need to take a little look at a bit of government overspending, and I think there's some there's some ways that we can reduce that. And I do agree that Mattawa does pay a lot of taxes. But that being said, the 5 members of council is the bare minimum, and I do think that we really are a full service community. We're not just roads and taxes. We have festivals, we have tourism, parks. And like Councillor Ross was saying, we do sit on committees. I know I can't really imagine taking on any more than I currently am as a councillor at this table. And I do think that, part of our sort of theme with this term has been a step towards transparency. And I think a big part of that transparency is having a diverse group of people around this table, and part of having that those diverse outlooks is having this amount of folks here. And further, we are taking steps towards getting bigger. Right, so our Dorian Road development, our next report coming up is talks of amalgamation with our partners, so maybe further on down the line, it might make sense to have some ward style representation from, any sort of amalgamations that may happen. But I think at this point, a reduction in size would be just adding a little more work to our future council. But again, I appreciate the report and do think that there's lots of room for looking at our spending.
Anybody else? Councillor T-Bear?
I tend to agree with the other councillors. I think that we do already have a fairly big workload. And I like the idea that Councillor Ross said that if we're gonna be cutting back, maybe we should go back to the pay standards that we had before. I don't think that any of us, you know, I don't think any of us are in this for the money, first of all. But also, I do believe that we should be paid rightly for what the services that we do provide. I don't really agree with this. I don't agree with even putting it on the whole business. And I'm comfortable with the way things have been going. Also, there is a lot of improvements that we're doing, like Councillor Mick said about Doria Road, it's gonna get bigger. If we talk about, and this is just a supposition, is the amalgamation with Matawan Township, you know, that's gonna be more work, more, you know, things like that are happening. I do appreciate the report coming forward. It was well looked into, but yeah, I really don't agree with this. So that's my opinion.
I think it's a unique situation. I think we just have to measure more of the cost benefits of what this will do. And I would agree with everyone that that's talked as well. I think we should table it and measure the cost and the benefit. And then with our strategic planning and where everything is going, it's a unique situation. We have to build off of it, and there is a cost to it and there is a benefit, and we need to measure that.
Sir Gardner?
So I got some rebuttals for everybody here, so. Maybe not the time and the place, but we are paid very well at this table. And some of us do earn a little bit more of that than others. Some of us bring a lot of initiatives to the table. Some of us show up to the meetings, cast their votes, and they go home, and can barely read an agenda. So part of that is to get 5 people who are more interested in servicing the needs of Matawan moving forward. Might be the bad guy for saying it, but that's my belief. Second, I'm gonna list off municipalities here that are able to do it with 5, and somehow they're diverse enough in their communities to serve their constituents. In Matawan, Papineau Cameron, Sunridge, Brooks Falls, Calvin Township, Nipissing, Bonfield, Powassan, Callander, East Ferris, with a population of near 5,000 people, manages to do it with 5 councillors or 5 council members. So just something to think. Council pay reduction, totally support that. If we can get the savings by doing that, again, I don't do this for the money. So if we all want to knock off $4,000 off of our council pay to make up for this, I'm good with that. But we're talking about that right now at our corporate services committee meetings. We asked for input last week for that meeting, last week or the week before. Visiting council members didn't show up. Visiting council members didn't have a preference in that. They didn't submit anything about that. So again, it's just the idea of it is to try to get cost savings, and this is a way that I think we can do it. We have 7 people. We talk everything around the table for hours on end. We don't get anything done. So the idea is less people, get everybody doing something, and getting results for our community. So with that in mind, it sounds very clear that this isn't the way the council wants to go. For your information, I'll be bringing a recommendation to the corporate services committee meeting that we all reduce our pay by the same amount divided by us. So I think that's a fair ask. It sounds like we've had 2 or 3 people mention that they don't do it for the money. So let's put our money where our mouths are and let's reduce our pay to make up for the difference. There's talk about Matawan, adding Matawan potentially, and that's another report that I brought the initiative to bring forward tonight. They have a population of 153. Is that what their last census was? Anyways, yeah, 153 in their last census. Adding Matawan isn't adding a whole lot of work for council. No offense to their council or what they do, but adding 153 people is a bit of a drop in the bucket to what the area has and the services that council offers for them. Our staff, yes, would add totally a lot of work for staff and road staff and municipal staff, all that, I get that. But for council, I don't think it makes a huge difference for the amount of time and effort that we put in. That's just my 2 cents. It sounds like it's a wash and it's gonna get thrown right off the table, and that's fine. But you and everybody here at this table has to look at the constituents when we bring forward, and I've heard numbers, I've heard rumors of numbers of what the tax increase is gonna be this year. And you're gonna have to look at the constituents and tell them that you're putting the diversity of this table ahead of their financial well-being, because $100,000 per term is a hell of a lot of money. You can do a lot of programming in this community for that. You can do a lot to help seniors and children and beautification and sports and activities. You can do a lot with that money. Instead, it's gonna sit in councilors' pockets. I'm good.
Final time around, yes, Councillor.
It sounds like we're here just to gaffle the money. We don't have any responsibility for the municipality as a whole, and I think you're wrong. I run on this council to serve the community and to do the best I can to make sure that this community prospers and programs get done. Where the implementation of the increase that we got when we got on council, I didn't ask for it. It came to us automatically. Okay, so, and I'm sure you didn't mind at that time to receive that money, and you're making even more than us. So there you go. So if you really want to cut back your pay, throw it all back in and worry about yourself for your enumeration, and we will take care of ours, and we'll do our job that we have to do to represent the people of this community. Thank you. I'm sorry to want to be rude to you, but I'm not.
Anybody else wanna go again?
No.
Councillor Bigelow, Councillor Kleber,
2 cents.
okay, go ahead.
Um,
Listen back to you.
I don't know, I don't know what the possible tax increase is, and I don't know where you're getting your information. But obviously you're getting information before it's brought to this table, and that I don't like. The second thing is that, more of us councillors would get involved if you would allow us to. But you're not allowing us to, because every time something happens in this table, and I've said this before and I brought it up to the mayor, is it's either the mayor, Matthew, the deputy mayor, and our CAO going to these meetings, or the mayor, Matthew Gardner, going to these meetings. You know, there's more intelligent people at this table, or maybe not more intelligent, just as intelligent as you 3 or 4 people that go to these things all the time. And like I said to the mayor, it makes us feel like we're not part of it. And maybe that's what you're saying. We sit here and we just vote and we go home because that's how we feel. You know what I mean? So don't come on to me about not, I'm sorry, but that's the way I am.
Let's maintain some
I
decorum
don't
here.
come on to me about not doing something that I'm being paid for, because I do my responsibilities to this council, and I would do more if you would allow me to. Thank you.
Councillor Mick, did you wanna throw something else in?
I think I'm okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Councillor Gardner.
Yeah, so I'll rebuttal with keeping my emotions in check and my voice down.
Oh, come on.
I think that everything that has been done by the mayor, the deputy mayor, the CAO has always been approved by council. And I can go back, and I will be willing to go back and find every motion that was passed by the table and who voted yes and who voted no for those. If I remember correctly, the remuneration bylaw that gave everybody a raise was unanimous. So
Yes.
everybody at this table voted yes for it. So don't make it seem like that. I don't do this for the money, so like I said, I'd be gladly willing to drop mine by any amount that seems fair to, as long as the rest of the table is. My comments seem to have struck a nerve with some people at the table and not others. So maybe that's part of the problem. Again, it's another agenda. Deputy Mayor Matthew Gardner has 2 information reports on there. There's councillors that have never submitted one single information report since they've been on this council in this term. So don't get mad at me for taking initiative when you're not involved for things that I take initiative for, or that the mayor takes initiative for, or that staff takes initiative for. If you take the initiative to do some of these things, then you'd be bringing the reports forward and you'd be involved in them. So it's unfortunate that the conversation got to this tonight. I thought that I provided some statistics that really backed up what this was. Unfortunately, it seems like we don't want to accept those statistics. We think that we know better than everybody in the surrounding 100-kilometer area that has better statistics than us. So we must be more intelligent than all of those people.
I guess, okay, Council.
I don't think it's people don't want to accept the statistics. That is not what that is about. I think that that when we were put in here, we want to represent the people. We are a number that we have voted upon to represent the people. I think that our democracy works better this way is what I'm understanding. It's not about your statistics and your work for looking at this. I also think that what Councillor T-Bear is saying is, even though we may have said, yes, we send so and so and so and so and so and so, would there have been a better opportunity to say, is there anyone on council who would like to attend with the deputy mayor and the mayor? I think that is the reasoning there. The work that we do is I find it's not just making reports, but it's reports are wonderful. And if I have to bring something to the council, I will do a report forward, but I prefer just to have discussions here. I prefer to have discussions with people in the community on what they would like to see, what they wouldn't like to see. That is where my stance is. And I had discussions with people over the weekend who called me, who contacted me, who asked what this was about. Unfortunately, I had never even got the agenda. It didn't get through for some reason, but I didn't even know what they were talking about. And then they said to me that they like things the way they are. They're happy with the way council is running. They like some of the changes council has done, which is perfect. So it's not that we don't agree with the statistics at all. That's what they're saying. That's what their stats are. That's great. That's the way they want to do it. That's good. However, this is what our residents at this point in time have said they would like to do. If they would like to bring something forward and say, you know what, I think that was a good idea. Why don't we have a referendum? Why don't we vote on that? That's fine. But that's not what I'm hearing at all. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, it's my turn now. I have
Yeah.
a question for Councillor T-Bear. Can I ask you a question, Councillor T-Bear?
Sure.
Yeah, because you went off and you said because you won't let me. Was I part of the you? I need to know that.
It seems that way to me, okay, because I have had the discussion with you before, and I did discuss that a lot of us feel like that, and nothing has been done, like no suggestions have come forward, like, and here we are again with another motion tonight for two people to go, and I don't think that's right.
No, I just needed to know where, okay, before I go ahead. Thank you for your answer. I
Yeah.
just needed to know.
I'm not, like, I might have got a little overheated, maybe raised my voice a little bit. But that's from the frustration of not being involved more. And that's why I explained to you before. That's the way I felt. I'm not being used to my full potential, is the way I feel on this council.
Councillor Mick?
I wasn't sure if I needed to go down this route, but I understand what Councillor T-Bear is saying, and I have felt it as well. The reason I think it is relevant to this report is, with, Councillor Bigelow as the anomaly here, Councillor Ross and Councillor T-Bear and myself are at the bottom of the voting list when it came around at the election, right? And at the beginning of our term, we were the three part of the senior housing committee of the Voyager Days Committee. We were doing really good work for the committee. We were bringing in a profit with the festival. We had opened a 33 unit senior housing facility in less than 2 years. And then we were voted out of these positions and kind of left from the communication surrounding them. The library as well, right? You know, thrown on there, next thing here I am, and then the funding is cut, the library is closed. I was let out of the conversations of negotiations with the school board, right? So I think we're all here with the good intent to do the good work, but it does feel a little rough to say, hey, like, we want to concentrate what is being done with the folks who are doing stuff when things have been being done, but maybe just not in the same way that the group has been doing it. So I absolutely understand what Councillor Tiber was saying, and I still appreciate the report and think we can do some look at our overspending, but I do not support this one.
Okay, so I'll finish now. First of all, as the mayor of the municipality, I don't think I need any permission to get involved. I think that's my job. I take it seriously and I put my heart into it. And I'm not gonna ask permission to try and move things along. Something that was said tonight at the table is that every time something moves ahead, it's moved by a resolution. So if you don't agree with it, you have the right to vote the resolution down. And if you haven't, that's on you. It's not on me. I bring you the goods at the table and you can decide the work groups that I participated in. I was asked and I agreed. And if someone wants to be on something, speak up. And again, the work groups were approved by a resolution. We brought all the work done through those work groups. It was approved by a resolution by council, you know, and so on and so forth. And some of the people tell me that they never asked for a raise. That's totally false, because I know some people have. And I stuck my neck out when we all came in, and I thought that it had to be looked at because it hadn't been looked at in about 12 years. And right now, we're still not on the upper echelon, we're in the average. Okay, and I think that this report is a good report. First of all, let's breathe a bit. And I mean, at the end of the day, it can be turned down. And Councillor Ross talked about democracy. That's democracy.
Mhm.
That's your choice here at this table. And if you take your responsibility seriously, well, then if you don't agree just to please someone. You know, fiscal responsibility, you know, we all talked about it. And this is part of it, you know, is there a savings here? Can we break it down and look at it? No one said that we're asking you to vote tonight that we go down to 4. If I read it's a report. Do we accept the report? I think that should be yes. And we're asking the clerk to bring more information forward. Why wouldn't we want to know the information? And I'll leave it at that. And now I'll look for a mover and a seconder. I can't get one. You'll move it, Councillor Mick?
I'll second it as well.
You'll second it? Okay.
Like that report.
If I may as well, this
You
is what,
certainly can.
this is what I meant by a unique situation, because there is a cost and a benefit, and the information from here will direct us. If we do stay with the numbers, then a different template with the cost sharing or with how we're doing things. So the report is good. I'm glad we're having this conversation. There's a benefit to having the numbers, and there is a cost. So moving forward, if we look at the cost and the benefit, we're going to get good things out of this.
Agree with that comment? Anybody else before I read the motion? No, okay, so the motion is moved by Councillor Mick, seconded by Councillor Bigelow. Be it resolved that Council of the Town of Mattawa receives a report number 25-09R titled Council Size Reduction. And further that council directs the clerk to add this report under old business, and further directs the clerk to bring forward more information on the process of reducing the composition of council at a future date. And Councillor Levesque requested a recorded vote, and I guess we've said enough, so.
Councilor White,
No.
Councilor Mick,
No.
Councilor Bigelow,
I'll say yes.
Councilor Hubert,
No,
Councilor Ross.
Mm.
Deputy Mayor Gardner
Yes.
and Mayor Belanger.
Yes,
The motion is lost with a recorded vote of 3 yeas and 4 nays.
thank you for that.
Answer clarification question.
Clarification question, sure.
What happens when we don't receive a report? I don't think we've ever not received a report. So like,
They voted not to receive it.
okay, so like the report doesn't exist, or like, I just don't understand what that means.
can't you bring it back up?
So we'll ask the
Sorry.
clerk then.
No, it's okay. So your report does exist. It just means that they did not accept it with the condition that the other further that was there. But it still remains on record that it was a report.
That's, you're done. Councillor Ross?
So can the report come back amended that it reads that this council receives the report as put forward to council, but not bring it back and not do all the other, can that be discarded and like amended? Or
You would
does it
have
have to stay in the same format?
yeah, you would have had to have amended it before you voted on this. So
Now, to get something changed, you can't do that. You can do it through, and I'm trying to remember what it's called.
a.
Motion of reconsideration.
Yeah,
Thank you. So that's your option. Or someone else's option. Okay, all good?
Good.
10.2. Amalgamation study, report number 25-10R. Report was prepared by Deputy Mayor Matthew Gardner.
So as you all know, for many years, Mattawa has been the center and the major hub of the area, providing essential services to our surrounding municipalities, such as recreation programs, a gym, an arena, an MTO office, some building centers, medical offices, a nursing home, hospital, dock systems, a landfill, library, and more. Some, but not all of these services are considered shared services in which our neighbors pay a fee. And I did forget to mention, there's some of them that don't cost the municipality anything. And allow, in which our neighbors pay a fee to help offset the costs and allow their residents to use those services. In many cases, no shared service fee is provided for the services that we offer to some of our neighboring municipalities constituents. And the Mattawa taxpayers are burdened with this cost to the benefit of our neighbors. In some cases, some services, such as fire protection, are not currently available to our neighbors because they are not residents within the municipality of Mattawa. That's been a topic that's been debated at this table recently, but it hasn't, I don't believe that it's gone through. During council's last campaign, and more specifically the candidates night, some candidates talked about the importance of amalgamating with our neighbors. I remember it was a pretty hot topic at that candidates night. This point has been talked about many times during our term. And is always a hot topic, as the town of Mattawa is often stuck paying the largest and most often unproportionate share of the cost of services that benefit all in the area. Understanding that the largest population in an even distribution of cost would be the largest, ours would be the largest, but right now it is unproportionate. Most recently, I'm supposed to typo there. Most recently, the township of Mattawa approached Mattawa staff about the potential for a fire services agreement to protect some parts of their municipality. at the council meeting where it was discussed, the majority of the table hinted at the fact that this should be part of a bigger conversation. I think that it was almost unanimous at that table if it wasn't. And nobody really wanted to use that word, but that was the word. And that we should be looking at combining the municipalities instead of contracting out our services and staff. According to the 21 census, Matawan has a population of 151, is that what 151? 153, okay, 153 residents that could benefit from increased or better services provided by the town of Mattawa. The town of Mattawa, which is landlocked, could benefit from the increased tax base, increase in population, and the vast amounts of land that the township of Mattawa has for future growth. We're all seeing how expensive it is to build up on our rock-filled mountain. And, you know, they have a lot of opportunity out there in Matawan. In my opinion, this collaboration is the first and easiest step in our region to becoming one municipality for the entire area in the future. To truly understand the balance of benefits and disadvantages of the two neighboring municipalities becoming one, I believe that an amalgamation study would likely have to be done to provide both councils with all the information needed to make the best decision for their constituents. My proposition is now going to change, but my proposition is for the mayor and Councillor Tiber to meet with their counterparts in Matawan to discuss if they have any interest in having this study completed and to further investigate the potential for amalgamation. We would then return to council, or they would then return to council and provide an update before reaching out to any firm for a study to be completed. Financial implications would be unknown at this time. And the recommendation was that council receive this report. And again, my recommendation would be that another councillor and the mayor approach the mayor, deputy mayor in Matawan and just have a brief conversation about if there's interest. If they shut it down right off the bat, well, then there's no sense in wasting any more time. But I think an official conversation needs to be had. In my discussions recently with the mayor, it was expressed to me that all of his time and energy right now is there's a lot being spent on the hill and expanding the town that way. And I agree that he's been spending piles and piles of time on that. So I took it upon myself and said, I'll kind of spearhead this one. I'm willing to put in the time, the effort, and everything that needs to happen to get that going that way. I don't want to make anybody feel excluded. And I also don't think that this is a public conversation. Like, I don't think it's a conversation that we need to have 7 of us and have them come here and record it and let everybody listen to it. I think it's a brief conversation. You sit down over lunch and you say, hey, is this interesting to you guys? Yes, no, and we go on our way. So if somebody feels left out and they want to participate in this, I will gladly sit back. I feel that I do more than my share, so I'm willing to let somebody else kind of take this bull by the horns, because we've all said that it's something that needs to at least be discussed. I'm not saying that it needs to happen, but it needs to be discussed.
Councillor Levesque.
I agree, we've got to move forward with this here. I have no qualms over this. But I wish that there would have been an opportunity to say which councillors is interested to sit on the committee. And because I have some ideas too. I've talked with some of the people over there in their council. And the same thing with the fire protection. I suggested to Mr. Lemaire that we go into highway policies for them to give protection, but we needed extra money to make sure that we have the equipment to do it. But there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be improved out there. We need the land. They even got a landfill site up there that we could use because it's there. So I'm just, you know, if Mr. Deepair don't want it, then I'd be glad to help Deputy Mayor to go at the meetings. So it's up to you guys, how do you want to do this?
Okay, Councillor Tiber.
First of all, I like the little dig that I got there, Matt.
I like being called less intelligent, so we'll call it even.
Okay, good. I don't want to replace anybody. I understand the idea of going and just finding out if there is an interest in the amalgamation process. I understand all that. And I don't even mind the mayor and deputy mayor meeting with their mayor and deputy mayor. I don't mind that at all. That's, and finding out if there is potential, and if there's not, like Matt had, or Councillor Gardner had said, what's the use of pursuing and wasting all of our time? We could get on to more, bigger and better things that we're dealing with. But I don't want to replace anybody for a sense of just replacing. I wouldn't mind being added, but I'm not gonna replace, so I would support this the way it is. And I don't wanna replace, I would like to be maybe added or sit, not even be a participant, but just sit and listen to what the conversation is and what happens, that type of thing, so, thank you.
I'm gonna throw something real
Go
quick.
ahead. Yeah,
We have to be mindful that anytime four of us are present somewhere, it becomes a meeting. So you need an agenda, you need to record it, and that, it is what it is. Anytime you're four, becomes a meeting. Yeah, I see you shaking your head and saying no.
Only if you're pushing municipal business forward.
I'm gonna ask the clerk that one.
I'm gonna stay silent on this. I would have to contact our municipal advisor. to
Could you
get
please?
further. Yep.
Because I've been led to believe all along, anytime four of us traveling to a conference in the same vehicle is not permitted.
It's permitted, it's just bad optics.
So,
it's
okay,
just bad.
It is, it is.
That
We did the
man.
training at the beginning, yeah.
okay. Anyways, I just want to throw that in. Councillor Ross, sorry to.
Nope, that's fine. Yes, I think a discussion should be had with Madawan and also other municipalities that may be interested, then that if they are or aren't. I have heard that they are not, however, that's just what I have been told prior. Maybe they are leaning now towards, maybe that's a good idea. If allowed, I would like to also go to be involved with something like this, whether it's just sitting around having lunch and talking about whether they're interested or not interested. I would definitely, that is something I would be very interested in doing, especially for something like this. And should they say they are interested, then our council would meet with their council, have a conversation, then they would have to go to their constituents and see if their constituents are interested in amalgamating. So, but for the first couple of steps, I would be interested in going.
Yeah, so at the Roma conference, I actually did have conversations with other councillors and about the amalgamation process. There's definitely a cost and there's a benefit. I'm very curious as to what our benefits would be here. From the conversations that I had, like the services went up, but the amount of grants went down. So like where money was able to be dispersed. However, I think again, this is a bit of a unique situation for us and our neighbors, and I'm very curious to see what the actual benefit and the cost is. I think this is great. Yeah.
So I just want to remind people that like this recommendation isn't ever what we have to vote on until there's a mover and a seconder. So this is just what I come up with, right? And I thought that made sense to have the mayor and the deputy mayor and the mayor and the deputy mayor. But it sounds like there's other people that are willing to spearhead this. Again, I'm willing to take a back seat to this. It's something that I want to see happen, but it sounds like we have enough people that are willing to grab the bull by the horns here and do it. So I'm willing to back out of it. I would ask that one other counselor make that decision to back out of the initial conversations. I'm not saying back out of the whole process, but just to back out of this initial conversation, because I don't think that it should be, we talked about bad optics. Walk into Valois and you see four of our counselors sitting around with three of theirs, and I think that's terrible optics. So I'm willing to pull my name from it. It's something that I really wanted to see, but I'm willing to step aside, and I would just ask that one other person do that, and so that we can keep this from being an official meeting and have that conversation.
Councillor Mick, did you?
No,
Are you good? Yeah. I know, but he
Oh,
never
I'm
had a
sorry.
turn yet.
Thought you wanted to say something.
Sorry, all right. No, I think Matt should be on it.
I just said, for your rebuttaling your comments, is that I said if Mr. T-Bear wasn't interested, I would. Okay, so if you have 3 people, that's good enough for me. So I'm gonna support this recommendation tonight. You have to make an amendment if you wanna add another person on there. That'll be up to you guys.
Okay,
But I'm cognizant of the fact that what the mayor Belange has said about, he was under the impression that if there's more than 2 people, it becomes a meeting and you have to be, so, yeah, so we've got, our clerk is gonna be checking into it. Can we table this till the next meeting and until we get that further information, if we can send 2 or 3? Without it being,
He said more than.
It's just a
You
report.
just can't have.
Oh, more than
quorum of
3.
Council.
pardon me?
You can't have quorum of council to move along council business.
3 people, okay.
so I-
So it's 4. 4 or more is your quorum.
So you can have
The
3.
CEO don't count as a forum, but he's there to oversee things, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, 'cause
Yes,
he's not a
Peter
member of
was not a
council.
member of council.
He's not a member of council.
Yeah.
So for the sake of moving this forward, I would move the way that it is with councilors T-Bear,
You and-
Ross, and the mayor is what I would move.
I'll second it then, I guess. It's gotta go forward, no matter.
Well, anybody else have a say about it? Cause I'll do my say. I think we got 3 people that, said they wanted to be on. I think, it's a very easy fix, so I think we can say that, instead of saying the mayor and deputy mayor, we're gonna redirect councilors T-Bear, Levesque, and Ross.
No, I never said I was gonna be on it. I
That's
said-
what I'm saying, so can I say what I got to say? Thank you. So directs Councillor T-Bear, Levesque, and Ross to hold a meeting with the municipality of Mattawa to speak of the potential interest in amalgamation study. And then I'd like to say that councillors that I named return to council with further information on a future date. So I'm prepared to do that too. And now I just need a mover to.
You're putting the names down.
Cause that's what I'm thinking.
That's
You
your-
can,
that's your-
you can change them if you want.
I'm not gonna
I'm
be on
asking-
there because you've gotta have, the mayor should be there.
Well, I just heard differently a while ago and I'll take a step back. I'll take a deep breath. I'll let someone else get involved. And, I'll see where the chips fall. That's all. Doesn't mean that I'm abandoning this, but, like I can't be accused of doing something and then sit here and, so if I'm the one that's stopping people from wanting to participate, I apologize I did that and I'll correct it. And that's my first step to correcting it. And I'm adamant keeping it at 3. Because I think a quorum, if you're talking amalgamation, don't tell me you're not advancing town business.
Oh, that's-
So, yes, Councillor T-Bear.
With all due respect, I don't think I mentioned that you were blocking.
I
Our chances.
asked you directly and you said yes.
Oh, that was not my intention, okay? And I would love to see you on this committee because the mayor, as the mayor of our community, I think you should be. So, I don't know, I don't wanna leave here with hard feelings, but obviously
Well,
there
that's
is.
gonna happen. Like it or not, that's gonna happen. Like
Well, I
things
think,
were said and we have to suck it up and, be big boys about it, put your pants on and
that's what I'm
we
saying,
move on, we move on.
So if I'm leaving here with, in my head, that we're gonna be moving ahead with this, okay? But I think that you should be part of this. There's no doubt in my mind, so.
Councillor Gardner.
Can I ask for clarification?
Yeah.
I made a motion.
Yeah.
With names of T-Bear, Ross, and the mayor. And I heard somebody say that they seconded it. Is that not is that not that somebody has tabled a motion, like
No, because no one,
Because it
you
wasn't
said
read.
you'd move it?
yeah,
Yeah,
I said that I would move a motion with T-Bear, Ross and Mayor Belanger. And I think Fern said that he would second that with those names. Because Fern said that he was willing to step back, I said I was willing to step back. So to me, that any changes now, I think would have to be, and the clerk can clarify, but from my understanding, now would have to be an amendment. Because I tabled something and that's been seconded, or,
If it was moved and seconded, then yes, you would have to do an amendment.
I would just move and second that.
I did
Motion.
not hear it moved and seconded.
I didn't either, so.
I'd move.
I
the
did,
second
it was
that.
moved and seconded, moved by Matt, second by,
Whatever, Matt.
Okay, so I get it. You want to keep the mayor and councilors Ross and T-Bear. That was your motion. And the municipality of Mattawan's mayor and deputy mayor or to speak to
just
them?
that, that's fine,
Just Matawan or identify them?
Council of Matawan.
Okay, so can I get a mover? You?
for clarification.
Yeah, I'll just get some, and before I ask for a seconder, or,
Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
so I just want to be clear, meet with our counterparts. Okay, so are we meeting with all of council in Matawan or just the mayor and deputy mayor?
They're in the same boat as us. They
I'm
would have
writing,
to hold a
I'm
public meeting.
writing what I'm gonna suggest here, and that's what we just said. Hold a meeting with the municipality of Mattawan's council. That's what you did say.
I
They
thought
can
this
send
was-
whoever they want.
So let's
Who are we to
remove
tell them?
council, just
Or
Mattawan?
Just Matawan.
Okay,
Who are we to
Okay.
tell them who's gonna be a part of it?
agree,
Okay,
agree.
there we go.
So I need a seconder.
And the recorder goes to.
Okay, before I read the motion, anybody else have anything else to add?
No,
No? Okay, so I have a motion that's moved by Councillor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Levite. And a recorded vote requested by Councillor Levite. Be it resolved that Council of the Town of Mattawa receives report number 25-10R titled Amalgamation Study. And further that Council directs the mayor and councillors Ross and T-Bear to hold a meeting with the municipality of Matawan to speak of the potential interest in an amalgamation study. And further that the mayor and councillors T-Bear and Ross return to council with further information at a future date.
Councilor Levite,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gardner,
Yes.
Councilor Mick,
Yes.
Councilor Ross.
yes,
Councilor Teeber,
yes.
Councilor Bigelow,
Yes.
and Mayor Belanger.
No,
The motion is carried with a recorded vote of 6 yeas and 1 nay.
Number 11, no bylaws, old business, I didn't see anything on 12.1, 12.2, or 12.3, and 12.4, so, food cycler, I was told last meeting that, someone's been using it and they're gonna report on its utilities and that, and something will come back to council, yes,
Can I just add to that one?
please.
I seen the staff member posted pictures of it online. I didn't know who the staff member was, but I seen the pictures of it. Amazing. If you haven't seen the pictures, you gotta ask the staff member and maybe ask staff who it was, and they can show you those pictures. It's truly amazing.
I agree, I saw them too.
Councilor-
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. So with the food cycler, I know they had asked if anybody else would be interested in using it. Is that happening now or is that happening later? Do we know?
My understanding is that they were gonna use it here, but it wasn't being used. So
Okay.
someone volunteered from our staff to bring it home
Okay,
and they're gonna come back with a report.
okay.
At that point,
People can.
then,
Okay.
yeah, it
Perfect.
depends if the town wants to, this table wants to participate in it or not. Okay, and beautification committee, I heard that terms of reference and the committee structure is coming to council shortly. So everybody can have a look at those. Expense reduction audit for municipalities. You didn't have time to further investigate that one,
And no, I have not yet.
okay? And administrative policies and procedures, just for your information. The night that we reviewed them all, I took notes of everybody that had a
Mhm.
concern. I met with the CEO, brought him all the concerns forward, and we're waiting for him to come back with an amended copy,
Okay.
just to give you an update on what's going on there. New business, there are none. Questions from the public pertaining to the agenda.
You know, Lincoln's presentation. Question pops up, you mentioned the new bridge location, it's like, is that true? Like, you have to discuss the new location for the bridge? Or are they just gonna keep it in place where it is and?
My short answer is we're keeping this bridge unless they tell us it's not
Safe.
wise, not safe. They had talked about in 2019, 2020, you know, and they were talking about crossing at the conservation island. And that's what he was talking about. Can you see, anybody that attended the Remembrance Day celebrations at the Cenotaph? It was an eye opener to see how many trucks, never mind cars, that crossed that bridge during that 20-minute celebration. So he's on our side on that one, but every engineer will say, no, you need a new bridge, because that's the safest of all, right? But he agrees with the town that if the old girl still has good bones, we should fix it. And he agrees with us that we can't afford to close it down at any time. You know, people have to get across. We can understand that, you know, we're doing this particular job, we need an hour, it'll be shut down. We advise the community, you know, we do the best we can. We have an ambulance and a policeman on that side, one on this side. We try and, you know, make sure that everything is taken care of. Other than that, no. No, unless someone at this table has desire to see a brand new bridge. Brand new bridge is about $20 million.
I know, but once he mentions new bridge,
And even if you build it beside this one, you wouldn't be aligned to Main Street anymore.
Or the 533.
as soon as he says new bridge, new location, I'm wondering, well, where the hell would that be? Would Pine Street then be turned into a?
The engineer at the time, when I was CEO, were recommending that we cross at the conservation.
Conservation, that's crazy.
You know, and go up Herdman Street with transports and that, and, you know, can't have that.
No,
So that's my short answer.
so. MPAC. Have they,
MPAC is not part of this agenda.
I was wondering if they yet to do an updated, assessment of our properties.
Nope.
So when
The government is looking at the whole system. And now that an election has been had, you're probably gonna see it happen soon. I think that was the delay.
my concern was when
It's
that.
not a part of this agenda.
Yeah,
when you
Can't talk about it.
well, MPAC is not part, your questions have to relay something in the agenda. I stepped to meet you halfway, so,
Okay, all right then. One more question.
okay. You wanna talk to me on the side about it, I'd be more than happy to.
All right.
Okay, forgot where I'm at. Oh, yeah,
15.
In camera, so we have a closed session. I need to move her in a seconder to go there. Okay, so I have a motion moved by Councillor Levite, seconded by Councillor Bigelow. Be it resolved that this council proceed in camera at 8:04 PM in order to address a matter pertaining to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. All in favor? Carried.
Can we take a 5-minute?
Yep.
Thank you.
Paul?
Okay, I have a motion here moved by Councillor T-Bear, seconded by Councillor Ross. Be it resolved that the regular meeting reconvene at 8:40 PM. Question, comments? None, all in favor? Carried. So we went into a closed meeting to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. All right. Mover and the seconder to adjourn the meeting. So moved by Councillor Levite, seconded by Councillor Ross. Be it resolved that the March 10, 2025 meeting adjourned at 8:41 PM. All in favor? Carried.